we will give you a short introduction about what we are actually going to show you in deeper detail later on, 3 o'clock, and let's get started. And I want to start defining what we are doing, because I think it's really important, especially after 3 days conference about urban agriculture. We cannot go out with statements which are wrong in this session. So actually Plantagon is a greenhouse, and it's not only a greenhouse, it's a greenhouse for urban industrial vertical farming. This places this project in the big matrix of all the possible solutions for the urban agriculture as one of the solutions. And this is the project that I and Susanna and my colleagues later will present to you today. So, as you see there, urban industrial vertical farming. Urban farming, we spoke a lot about that, so I don't think there are no more explanation needed. Industrial farming, when I want to relate to Beatrix Alsanius, who spoke on the first day and said, well, there is nothing fancy with industrial farming. I mean, it's really complicated, it's really technical, and he has to be, well, it's an industrial project, it's an industrial process. But Magnus said, this has to be beautiful at the same time. So, how to combine those two things? And the way we found out, or the way we're developing, is to use the vertical farming, to put together the urban farming and the industrial farming. And this is where we began. Me and Sanna, we started 2010 with the project, and since the very beginning, the project looked like this. And I had a huge problem with this building, because if you look at that, at least at the very beginning, whenever I was presenting the project, I was asking to the audience, what do you see? And the answer was always a wonderful sphere. Well, this was Plantagon since the very beginning. This has always been Plantagon. Actually, it's not the sphere, which is the technology for the vertical farming that Plantagon patented and that we developed, but actually it's the helix, which has been the new idea of Plantagon, and the transportation systems for the crops. So actually, the wonderful sphere is not necessary, at least not as the shape. The shell of the greenhouse could be whichever form. So what we've done, and what I'm really thankful Hans for his patience to, and all at Plantagon, is to develop this into forms which we believed more rational and more functional for this kind of project. And how to do that? I want to close the site, I want to close the loop considering the reasoning about global and local. Of course, each local process, each local project has consequence globally. But how can we think a global project without contextualizing it? And to me, it sounds very difficult, especially with a project like this, which is really place-dependent. So what we've done is actually to divide the process. We want to find out the principles. We want to show the way. But then we want to take a step back each time we really start in a local process, a local project, and cooperate with local expertise to find the best solution for that place. So the end of our global development is somehow summarized in this, well, quite easy matrix actually. We got 2 rows in the matrix, the first one above, and then you see temperature zones. And what we're referring is not climate this time, we're referring about latitude. We're referring about the position of the sun. We're building a greenhouse, and as you all know, the greenhouse effect is based on the sun. So we need to work with the sun. So temperate zones and then intertropical zones. The sphere is there, and it's for the intertropical zone, so it's not disappeared. But as it is based on a radial symmetry, it follows the movement of the sun at this latitude, where the sun is going around 360 degrees. But what happens at our latitudes? What happens here in Linköping? What happens in Shanghai? What happens in Onondaga? Well, the sun is always standing on one side. And we want to optimize the usage of primary reserves. This means we want to use passive solutions. And for us, the most important is to have a good use of the sun. So what do? Well, actually, we've done a lot of development based on the helix. As you see above, we started from the sphere and from the original helix and try step by step a development of the plantagon idea, the original idea of the helix where you transport all the crops. And then step by step, we end up to another solution, which is more suitable for another system, which was actually a facade system that we can stitch on another facility. So we create an integration between two different facilities. So, as a sum up for everything, what the whole development of Plantagon was not just to develop one project specific for Linköping. It was first to create a variety of solutions which can be adapted and which can be chosen on different, location and on different requirements for the specific location.
Thank you. We also needed to fill this greenhouse with plants. That's sort of the idea. All of a sudden, this architectural project became a horticultural project. And I must say that I was very pleased when Beatrix Alsanius made the distinction between urban farming, urban agriculture, and urban horticulture. This is very important, I think. And I hope that we can make the distinction for the next summit, perhaps, because this, within the glass house, the farming being done there with you control the environment, you control the nutrients, you control everything. It also means that you can sort of engineer your plants, and that's horticulture. So I hope we can call it horticulture. This is what you see in the picture is the plants that we intend to grow in the Plantagon greenhouse of Linköping. The left plant is a pak choi or bok choy, and the right plant is a mitsuna. They are both brassicas, relatives to the Swedish kale. And I guess most of you, either you know it and you like it, or you think, why? And I say, why not? This is how we started to look at the greenhouse. We needed loop systems in the greenhouse. We want to take care of the waste and use it and close loops in the greenhouse and produce food. This is quite simple. The photosynthesis requires both carbon dioxide and heat and sun. And we have tekniska verken. Can I use, let's see, here. There. This black dot, sorry, it's black, is tekniska verken. And they provide both CO2 and, hopefully in the future, nutrients. Right now we're going to use nutrients in a stock solution, but hopefully in the future we can clear the nutrients from the biopellet, from the biogas system. We get seeds that we sow in a substrate, and you can follow the brown line for substrate. The substrate we use will be reused over and over again. I guess many of you have bought lettuce, for instance, in a ICA supermarket in Sweden. You get the pot together with the substrate. You buy the substrate and then you throw it away. And we won't do that here. We will reuse the substrate. So the whole system is a circular system, and the only part of the process going on in the greenhouse, in the actual the glass house, is this part. The rest of it is in the basement of the building, or the first floor of the building, not in a glass house. And then we also have harvest and packaging and storage and distribution. So there's a lot to growing and distribution of our food. To be a bit more precise, this is how we're going to do it. We have pots in a row, and we will provide nutrients through a solution that will run under the pots. And the pots are filled with pumice, and the pumice will draw the nutrients up through the capillary forces. We get the water from the municipality of Linköping, so it's surface stream water from Stångån that will be cleansed somehow in the regular cleaning system. There are troubles with, compared to ordinary field systems, you don't have the same problems with zoonosis and stuff in the greenhouse, where you can control water quality. So, the growing media, I've got a lot of questions why we are using pumice instead of soil. Pumice is a very inert growing media. It comes from the volcano Hekla in Iceland. It's a natural porous material, and you can handle it easily. It's practically weightless. It's very lightweight, and it will contain the nutrients and the water in a good way. And since you know exactly that there are no nutrients to begin with, everything you put in you have control over. So it's easy to feed your plants in the correct way. Compared to soil, we did have questions whether we should use soil or not. Because if we want to certify this growing process with call it ecological, you need to have 80% of the nutrients coming from the soil structure. And we can't do that with pumice. But since, as I told you before, if you need to bring in the soil, create the soil from peat, and then bring the soil out to the consumer, who will throw it away, then it's not a good thing. Here we will reuse and reuse again the pumice for 7 or 8 years. And these are the healthy leaves that we are going to grow. And we did, since we have the helix, cultivation needs to be performed through, we sow the seed and we let it grow, and then we can harvest. It was difficult to have something that we needed to bind or harvest during the course of time when the plant is moving through the helix. So now in this Plantagon 1.0 perhaps, we are going to grow a leafy vegetable. And that could be lettuce, for instance. But then we started discussing, could there be something else that is better for us, better for health, better for quality? And we decided on Asian leafy greens because they contain a lot of good things. For instance, dietary fiber, proteins, folic acid, vitamin C. and so on. It's spinach, but kale. So for this first greenhouse, we have tested pak choi, mitsuna, and chrysanthemum, as you saw in the first picture.